Good. Ready to rock? All right, everybody. Good evening. My name is Joseph Vela. I'm from Texas. I work with the Quarterback Ranch, and I'm glad to be here. This is my second, it's actually my third Playmakers trip out to Germany. And I love it, man. You guys are awesome people, the culture, and I really enjoy training football with you guys. So hopefully you all can learn something today. If you got plenty of questions, feel free to ask, okay? If I get talking too fast, slow me down, right? And I know you all been here a while, so I'll try to go through it pretty quick, right? So today's presentation, my presentation is on Complete Athletic Performance, the CAP program. This is the program that I have built for the Quarterback Ranch, and this is what we do pretty much on a daily basis. So this training right here is not necessarily just for football players. It's been designed for football players, but it'll work for any athlete. So if you have a daughter or a younger son that plays a different sport, this training will help them as well, okay? So I keep it very tied into football because obviously that's why we're here. Football is my favorite sport. I played college football myself. So a lot of this training is directed primarily for football players, but it'll work for anybody. So let's get started. This is what we'll be covering. What is the CAP program? When do we use it? In season, off season? The athletic skill training is primarily the main portion of the presentation. How do we implement it? How you all can start putting it in your practices and your training. I'll show you an example script and then some other key factors. I also have some video of us training the Rataboil Foxes this past week. So we'll kind of just look at some of that film and I'll kind of describe what I'm teaching here, and maybe you guys like what you see, and like I said, you can use this stuff and put it in your regimen, okay? So our mission statement for our program is we're revolutionizing sports performance training to engineer athletes by establishing a foundation of skills and strength, ultimately turning athletic ability into proficiency until mastery, okay? So we really take pride in doing new teachings, keeping it fun, keeping it just up to date, basically, right? So I think sometimes we get kind of caught up in the old school mindset. There's nothing wrong with that, but sports training and exercise science hasn't been around that long. It's not like an old subject like biology or something like that. So the science that's coming out on training is constantly being changed. So we like to keep up to date with that, and the kids love that too. So like I said, it's next level training. It's very educational, even though my athletes, like I said, whether they're a boy or girl, 5 years old up to college, it's an educational course. So while they're sweating, while they're breathing hard and getting the workout in, I'm constantly teaching and they're constantly asking questions, and we're getting smarter together. Like I said, it's challenging, but most importantly, it's fun. If kids don't like it and enjoy it, there's only so far that they're going to go, okay? So always keep your training fun for them. It's good for all athletes. Like I said, we have our 4 different programs. We have our Kickstart program for our young athletes. That's anywhere from about 8 years old, 9 years old to about 12. Then we have our Game Ready portion. That's our primary portion. I truly have a calling for working with middle school age kids. I like to catch them at a young age where they know what they want to do, but they just haven't discovered it yet. And another reason why I like working with them is because they're still a sponge. You can show them everything, and they're going to learn it, and they're going to apply it. You catch a guy a little too old, 18, 19, 20, he's a little stuck in his ways, he knows everything, and it just gets a little bit more tough to get through that. But we do have our high school program, the Playmaker Elite, and then I do work with adults. Some of you all probably might still play. I know I worked with him the other day in Braunschweig, and so yeah, this program is not just for kids, it's for any athlete out there. And I have some parents that they want to get their workout in as well and stay healthy, and I always tell them, if you want to look like an athlete, you have to train like an athlete, okay? So most of our training is done at our AR gym. It's Absolute Recomp. That's what the gym looks like. Usually we're not going to talk about strength today as much, but the CAP training deals a lot on the turf. We do a lot of, like I said, new style training. So here's just a little picture of one of our quarterbacks working with a bungee resistance cord over a BOSU ball. So just really working how to stabilize the core and just overall conditioning with that. You guys will hear about it tomorrow, but we have a Texas football experience program where we allow coaches and players from around the world to come visit us in Texas and get this training there. So it is included in the TFE package. I get a lot of parents that ask me why. Why do I need this style of training? Well, simply put, and I got this quote from Charles Bentley. Maybe you guys have heard of him. Maybe y'all know his stuff, but he's a very successful O-line coach, and he produces very good O-linemen. So one of his quotes is, "There's no skill without strength, but there can be strength and no skill." So what that means is, we've all seen it before. We have a guy that shows up, he's got the muscles, he's got the physique, but the moment you have him do a shuffle or back pedal, he's goofy, he's stuck in his stance, and he's not mobile, all right? So you can be very strong and have no skill, okay? Now, you can't have skill without any form of strength, though. So basically put, you have some smaller guys, very skinny, they're not really the best looking football player in some pads, but they can run fast, they can jump high, they can move their body, they can break tackles, or even, get out of a block to make the play. So what gets those kids higher is getting stronger. But plain and simple, make sure you know the difference, okay? So you can't have strength without, you can't have any skill without some form of strength, but you can't have strength without any form of skill. Another reason to answer this question, why do I need cap training, is we got to build a foundation. Too many times we have new athletes, they've never played football before, and their goal is to be a good, football player. They want to start, whether it's at the League One or League Two, whatever it is, but they've never played before, and we just throw them right in there and expect them to be a playmaker. And some kids have it, some kids are natural, but for the most part, we're all not. We have to learn these skills, and these skills can be strengthened and improved, but if there's no foundation of it, it's going to be very tough to get those results. So that's the main thing. Having these young age kids build a foundation of skills that they can work on through time and allow them to continue to improve their game. Another reason is you can understand your strengths and weaknesses. Too many times I see athletes, they only do what they're good at. They're very good with footwork, so that's all they stick to. They don't want to get in the weight room, or they don't want to do something else that they're weak at. Or vice versa. Guys are really strong in the weight room, and they have terrible feet, so they never want to do ladder work. I just want to work out. I just want to work out. All right, so this program really highlights what your strengths and weaknesses are. Every kid that comes into my program, we test them, we assess them, and we get their numbers, and from there it's going to tell us this is what we need to implement, this is what we need to work on, or we can kind of, you're getting enough of that because you already have good numbers in that. This is a big one in the States. I have to tell these parents there's a difference between playing and training. If you're constantly playing, if you're just from one season to the next, we have a lot of kids back home that they go from football right into basketball, right into baseball. Maybe in the summer they do more baseball and basketball, and they go right to football. They never have an off season. They never have a time of period where they're training their body to fix those mistakes that they're doing in the game. But if you're constantly playing, you're actually reconfirming or reassuring those mistakes or those bad habits that you have. So I'm sure a lot of your athletes here are multiple sport athletes, and that's great. We want our kids to be multi-sport athletes, but there has to be some sort of training period. There has to be an off season where they can fix those mistakes that they've made in the season, so here comes next season and they're getting better, right? But if they're constantly just playing, you're not going to be getting much better. You're not going to get higher results. We've all heard this saying before, practice makes perfect, right? I call bullshit on that, all right? I believe perfect practice makes perfect, all right? If it's not a quality rep, you really didn't get better. I try to correlate training with school, right? Most of my athletes, they go, obviously they're attending school, but we have a deal where it's a contract. If you're not passing your classes, you can't train in my course, all right? So if you're not passing your classes, you can't play anyway. Doing this extra training with me is not going to help you anyway. You need to put your get your nose in the book, pass your classes first. Once you got that going, then we can train. So I always correlate the two, and I asked them, I said, hey, when you get extra schoolwork or you get a test of 10 questions and you only get 2 right, well, what's your grade going to be? It's going to be a terrible grade. It's not going to help your overall average of that class. Well, the same thing with training. If you're doing 10 reps in practice and only 2 of them are right, the other 8 were wrong, you're having to recorrect them, fix their mistakes, they're not quality reps, Well, their grade for that day is a 20%. It's not very good. How are they supposed to improve their overall athletic grade for the day, or their football grade, if they got most of them wrong? So perfect practice makes perfect, all right? So preach that to your kids, and maybe they'll approach their training methods a little bit more focused and disciplined to get better results at the end of it. The 5 Ps, I preach this a lot. 5 Ps are proper preparation prevents poor performance. Okay, so again, how you train will predict how you play. If you prepare properly with perfect reps, perfect practice, you're probably going to get perfect results. Okay. In the States, let's use high school football, for example, Friday Night Lights. The game's played on Friday. They'll have a conditioning practice and film on Saturday. Sunday they have off. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday they have practice. So these kids are practicing 5 times a week. And what my experiences were, being in it and then also seeing it, helping coaches out with it, is when they can put a solid 5 days a week or 4 days of practice, solid practice, they usually kick someone's ass on Friday. But when they only get 2 days of solid practice and the other 2 are, it was just a waste of time, kids are running around, not focused, not paying attention, they usually get their ass kicked on Friday. Okay? And football's a lot more fun of a sport when you're doing the ass kicking. That's for sure, right? I think we can all agree with that. So again, proper preparation prevents poor performance. How is this possible with school and other activities? I mean, your athletes might be doing other things. They have a life too, and they have other things to get done, and we understand that. But the main thing is you got to prioritize. So for my kids that want to join my program but are already handling a full schedule, I tell them, find your priorities. Figure out what's most important to you, and then if getting better for football or your sports is important, well, you need to put it at the top of the priority list and make time for it. We're all busy. We all got to go to work, class. We got to eat, sleep. We also got to, have a normal life and Netflix and chill, if you will, right here and there. But if it's important to you, you'll find time. So in college, my priorities, I call them the triple F, was faith, family, and football, in that order, right? So I handled my faith, took care of my family, and then it was everything about football. Some kids here, they want to have the nice jersey on and snap up the helmet, but their priority of football is way the hell over here behind video games and their girlfriend and all other kinds of stuff, right? So have them figure out what's a priority to them. Once they do, you'll see how they're able to give a little bit more time and attention to detail to this. Like I said, you got to make time for it. We don't just have time. There's only 24 hours in a day. You have to make the time for it. Consistency is key, though. If you can have consistent training, consistent workouts with consistently perfect reps, you're going to get consistent results. That was the 5 practices a week in the States, 1 game. 5 is bigger than 1, so I would take a lot more pride in the 5 practices that we get to handle up on that 1 game. If you can just have great practices, a good walkthrough, the day leading up before, it usually just it transfers over to that 1 game. But if you have 5 shitty practices, 5 bad practices, it's going to be a very long game on that when that time comes. Okay. This was a picture taken at I think one of the spring Playmaker camps, and I couldn't find who said this quote, but I like this quote a lot. This CAP training is extra work. This CAP training that I provide for these athletes is outside of their normal school, right? It's extra work. So an extra work isn't for everyone. A lot of people don't like extra work, right? We have those kids. I think you can already think about 2, 3 kids in your club that are like, yeah, we give them extra, they're going to be crying about it. Extra work isn't for everyone, but neither is playing time or winning, all right? Those that go out of the way and put in that time and extra hard work with those perfect reps, they're usually the winners, all right? And they're usually your studs. Okay, so as far as CAP training, when do we do it? When it comes to in-season training, the biggest thing to know is your athletes. You got to know their schedule. Some of them are battling, like I said, a heavy classroom schedule, or they might be in another sport, or they might be doing something else with their family or whatnot. So know their schedule, so you're not trying to overwhelm them. As much as it is extra work, you don't want to overdo them too much. Know their strengths and weaknesses, so we're not just overdoing, not want to say overdoing their strength, but if they're lacking footwork, right, well, let's work on some more footwork. right? If they're lacking strength, well, let's get them in the gym a little bit more and try to get that strength up. So know their strengths and weaknesses, so you're not just kind of beating a dead horse on what they're already good at. Let's get their other skill sets up, and we'll talk about those skill sets in a second. Lastly, know their goals. You have to know your kids, you have to know your athletes and what they're trying to achieve. If you don't, well, then you're going to be working towards an endless tunnel, right? We got to get to a certain landmark or a certain checkpoint so we know that we're improving. So know their goals. When it comes down to my training, the CAP training in season, we only go to about 1-2 times a week. Why? Again, I told you they're already practicing 5 times a week, and you just don't want to overdo them, overload them in the season. For each session that we do, 1 or 2 times a week, 40% of the session is geared towards just skills training. 25 is geared towards hip and back mobility. I said this at the last clinic, and I continually see this when I come over here. The biggest thing that I notice when I work with these European athletes and German athletes is you guys are very stiff, very stuck. Your hips are very tight. Okay, so probably has to do with y'all's big, strong builds, which is very good. You got to be a big, strong football player. But we all know those that have the best feet and those that can move their hips around, they're usually the ones making the most plays. So over there in our states, we don't neglect that. All right, and I encourage you guys to really implement more hip and lower back mobility to keep your athletes healthier, but also to get just more improvement in range of motion in their ability. So another 25% of the training is geared towards core conditioning. I think a lot of coaches neglect, they kind of forget about the core and how important it is, especially during season. They think that all that was handled in off season. But core training, I feel like, should be done 5 times a week. Your core is the most important muscle group in your body. You need to train it a lot. And then only 10% of the training is geared towards relative body strength. Relative body strength is not so much how much you can deadlift off the ground or bench press, but how well you can move your body. So how many chin-ups or pull-ups can you do? How many squats can you do? How many push-ups can you do? At the end of the day, we do need to be strong on the field, and we get that strength in the off-season working with the weights and whatnot. But when in a football game are your feet stuck in the ground holding 300 pounds, right, doing this? Never, right? You're constantly moving in multiple planes. You're constantly falling off balance or dealing with external resistance or something like that, okay? So plain and simple, you got to learn how to carry your body on the football field. Those that have the best relative body strength are usually the fastest guys on the field or the most agile. In football, you definitely need speed and agility, okay? Parents always ask me, well, why do I need the training in season? Well, we gotta at least maintain what we gained in the off season. I think we've all noticed this. I definitely can look back in my college years, and we all came out of, summer training camp, the 2 days camp, and we're all big and swole. And by the time playoff comes, it looks like I lost 10 pounds because the whole season's transpired, all right? And you haven't gave as much focus and attention to detail on maintaining what you gained in the off season, and you lose a lot of that stuff. Doesn't mean you're out of shape. It just you need to maintain what you gained. All right. So this training helps with that. Here's a picture of our big old group of high school athletes all working on a Wednesday night. This is after they had their own practice. A big group comes out. We work on footwork. We work on routes. It's primarily geared for just skill athletes, but if you look at that big boy in the pink over there, we have linemen come out too, and they work on their CAP training as well. Yeah. So off season, same rules apply. Know their schedule. They should have a little bit more free time if they're in the off season. Focus on the strengths and weaknesses. Try to get those weaknesses to be their strengths, and know their goals. All right. If they don't know how to put a goal together, help them out. All right. I think sometimes these kids, they're afraid to go put in the extra work just because they don't know what they're working to. They know they need to do it, but they don't know what to work towards. Maybe you just need to put something in their ear like, hey, let's gain 10 pounds in your bench this summer or this off season, right? That little bit might spark something, and the next thing you know, they got 20 pounds on their bench. Now I encourage to do 3 to 5 times a week of CAP training during the off season. That's not including lifting. Again, this CAP training is not strength training. This is skills training. So on top of their lifting, about 4 to 6 times a week, they need to be doing 3 to 5 times of CAP training. Now, a quarter of percentage of the focus of the training goes to skills, Force production, we'll talk about in a second. Still hip and back mobility, just because you're in off-season doesn't mean you neglect that. And core conditioning, just as important. Force production, at the end of the day, that's just how much force can you produce. So that's when the deadlifts, the bench press, all those type of exercises really matter. The more force you can produce, well, the more explosive you'll be. The higher you can jump, the faster you'll be able to sprint. So make sure you implement those in your off-season. Why do I need training in the off-season? That's a rhetorical question, right? We have to take advantage of this time to get bigger, faster, stronger. We got to build and improve. Working out is one thing, but if we're not improving our numbers, you kind of wasted the off-season. Okay? And I can admit, when I was young and I didn't know half this stuff, there was plenty of times I looked back and like, damn, I'm still benching the same damn weight. I'm still running the same speed. I didn't gain anything. I might look a little trimmer, or I might feel like I'm in better shape, but my numbers stayed the same. You can't have that. You got to improve. And the off season is usually from the postseason, end of playoffs, all the way up into camp, preseason. We have a saying over there. I know it's different for you guys because the season changed and the summer, and we play in the fall. So our quote in the States is, champions are built in the spring and summer, and then they're crowned in the fall. That's when we play our games and have our championships and things like that. So if you want to win some titles, make sure they're busting their ass in the off season. Here we go. Here's the main points. There's 6 different skills that pertain to athletic training. Okay? When it comes down to athletics, there's 6 skills. The main one is coordination. This is one that everyone just overlooks, right? It's kind of just one of those things is, oh, I'm coordinated or I'm not. I don't know how to train it. I don't know really how to get better at it. I'm uncoordinated. I can't do it. You see a kid go through a ladder, it's a very simple ladder drill, and he gets frozen in the face, and he's just like, I don't know, I can't do it. We have to explain and work on coordination drills with these athletes because none of the other stuff that I'm going to talk about in a second will ever get there. You'll never be able to improve the other parts if you just don't have coordination down. Okay, so you have 2 types of coordination. You have a basic coordination. This is what I work on with my little kids, the 8, 9, and 10-year-olds. Even they play sports, so they need a foundation of skills. And those can be something as easy as just a jumping jack or a jump rope. Or even just a lunge. You ask these little kids to do that, and their jumping jacks look crazy, and they can't do more than 3 jumping ropes, and their lunges look all crazy, you know. So how do you expect them to go and be the next stud on the football field if they can't do those basic drills? So incorporate those for your young kids. Now, when it comes down to the older kids and more of a sport-specific coordination, you got to find drills that are applicable to the sport, okay? So ball drills. We do those with the receivers a lot. And if you're out at practice tomorrow, I'll be working with them. You guys can come and get those drills from me. Ladder drills. Any athlete, any position on the field needs to have footwork. Even the big linemen. They might not be fast, but the best linemen have the best feet, okay? You can actually get coordination drills in your dynamic stretch, and we'll see that on film. And another example would be a pad punch drill. And your linebackers need to learn how to strike. Even receivers that go up and block a DB need to learn how to strike properly. And if you don't work those drills, that coordination, finding how to move the body in that pattern, it's not going to happen in the game, all right? So make sure you're applying drills that are going to correlate straight to the game. The next skill is agility. This one's very important, especially for football. Football is a multi-planar sport. We're going to move in all angles. We're going to accelerate. I'll talk about the quote, but agility is very important. And for the most part, I'm very sure you guys implement this, okay? But agility is the ability to accelerate, decelerate, reaccelerate in any direction, all while maintaining balance, okay? Usually our DBs, receivers are the most agile, maybe a quarterback, running back, linebacker here and there. And then linemen, they're the ones that usually have the trouble with it, right? So as important as it is, know your athlete. If he's struggling with it, maybe incorporate a little bit more. If he's not struggling with it as much, well, then you don't have to worry about it as much, okay? But it is something you guys need to push in the off season and even in season. One of the main points about agility is learning the change of direction position, the COD position, okay? How many of you guys do combine testing for your clubs? All you guys, or do you guys do any combine testing? Yeah? Do you all do the 5-10-5 drill or L drill? Okay, that's an agility drill, okay? And there's a lot of technique to it. I myself, I had the fastest L drill on my college team. There was guys way bigger, way taller, way more athletic than I was, but I had the details down to a T, which allowed me to have the fastest time. So the biggest one is change of direction position. At the end of the day, body position dictates body direction. Okay, so if I'm leaning this way, my body position is dictating that I want to run that way. Sounds very simple and dumb, but a lot of kids don't know that. So let's say, for example, I'm going to run my 5-10-5. I'm starting in the middle. I'm going to go 5 yards that way, 5 yards this way. I've seen, the other day we did the combine in Braunschweig. I saw about half the athletes do this on their change of direction. And it's not their fault, they've just never been taught. Again, this is what the program is about. This is why I've created this program. So your hands down, I'm going to run 5 yards. As I take off to the 5-yard cone and I'm going to change direction, I see a lot of kids leaning towards the cone to touch it. Well, by the time I transfer my body weight and get in position to take off, there were some seconds on the clock, okay? All the change of direction is leaning your body to the direction you want to run, okay? And you're slightly outside your center of gravity. Your center of gravity is a circle right around your feet, right? You got to learn how to play outside your center of gravity. So, that's the cone. I'll take off to the cone, and as I approach the cone, I want to sink my hips, start setting up my feet to where I'm good, change of direction so I can touch the cone, and now I can get out in the next direction as fast as possible. That little position right there saves wonders of time on people's times, okay? So if you know you have an athlete, it's like, man, his scores don't really show how good he is. He's a very good athlete. It's probably because he has those little minor technical things that he's not applying. So that one right there is very crucial. And I know most of y'all probably do conditioning for your team. You might do some shuttle runs, say, we're going to go to the sideline and back twice, or we're going to go 10 back, 20 back, 30 back. Whatever it is, make sure that they're applying that. Those little times in practice, I know you guys only practice, what, 2-3 times a week? And you only get 2, maybe 3 hours of practice day. Every rep counts. So whether it's just conditioning or a warm-up, make sure they're applying little details like that. Again, you got to train in and outside your center of gravity. For the bigger boys, the linemen, right, outside their gravity is a little bit harder because they're carrying more. So just have them understand what it is and develop some more core strength. Pro agility, L drill, 3, 4, and 5 cone drills are all plenty good, and I'm sure you guys know tons of those. If you don't, go to Google, right, Mr. Google, what are some 3 cone drills, and you're going to get 1,000 different ones. The next skill is speed. Yes, speed is a skill. You can get faster. It's not just genetics, right? I think a lot of people just kind of expect themselves to be fast, and they run the fastest ever, and they think that's all they can do. There's so much technique to running, okay? The big 2 techniques that you got to, not so much techniques, but the phases that you have to learn, the differences, the acceleration phase and the top speed phase. Now, for football players primarily, this is more important. We need guys to be able to eat up grass as fast and quickly as possible. We need them to accelerate. The average football play is played anywhere between 5 and 10 yards. So the guy that can cover the most ground within 5 to 10, or the quickest time within 5 to 10 yards is going to be a beast, okay? So acceleration is reaching max speed in the shortest amount of time or distance. Now, top end speed is maintaining max speed with proper leg cycling. Again, there's a lot of technique to this. Won't really get too far into it already, or today, but a good acceleration drill is wall drives, and it's a very simple drill. Christoph, let's show them real quick. Stand over here. Stand towards the wall. Okay, again, this is a wall drive. This is an acceleration drill. What you're going to do is have your athlete stand about arm's length away from the wall. That's pretty good right there. The first thing we have to do is have him reach triple extension, so he's going to come up to his toes, then he's going to fall into the wall. Okay? Have your arms long. Good. Now what I'm looking for is does he have a straight line between his shoulder, his hip, and his knee? You get a very weak or undeveloped athlete, bend your knees a little bit, stick your butt back, they fall there. They might feel straight, but they are not straight. We can see how their body is kind of kinked, right? So stand up tall, drop your hips forward. We want a straight line. That's the acceleration line. Now, relax. Take a step back. Good. Now we have him about an arm and a half away from the wall. So do the same thing. Come up to your toes. Look how much sharper that line is now, right? That's a true acceleration line. We all know when we come out of our stance, we need to be low 45, okay? But if you're young and weak, or maybe you're carrying too much fat in the front, not enough strength in the back, or your glutes or hamstrings, this position's hard to hold. All right, so from here, what I have my athlete do is lift their right knee up towards the wall, just like that, but he's got to maintain that. A lot of athletes, as soon as they do that, that butt pops out, their knee starts to bend, they can't hold it, okay? You all can't really see him too much, but he's shaking a little bit. How much do you weigh again? How many kilos?
98.
All right, that's a pretty big, solid boy, right? This position burns if you're doing it right. Just this alone. Once they can master just holding themselves up, most athletes can, what I'll do is say, on my clap, you switch. Ready? Boom. Is he still in the position? All right, we still got to have those hips drop. We got to be in that straight line. His ankle to his hip to his shoulder. Ready? Switch. Boom. Relax. Good. So it's not so much, do I got to put 5 plates on top of this sled and I got to run with the sled? Yeah, that's good. That's going to help you create more force. But if you never really learn how to get into the proper acceleration position, all that's kind of a wash. All right, let's handle this with our body weight, because in the game you're going to be carrying your body first before we start using all the extra heavy weights. Okay. Now a wall cycle drill. Again, all you need is a wall. This one I'm going to go through a little bit quicker. But imagine this is the wall. I slightly just put my hand on it. I don't lean on it. Just kind of touch it for balance. Because my right hand's on the wall, I'm going to use my right leg. Now, when you're focusing on top speed for your 40-yard dash, or say you're a track star too, and you're trying to get faster at the 100-meter dash, it's all about proper leg cycle. So what I tell my athletes is, imagine yourself as a hamster on a wheel, right? A little hamster running on a wheel. That wheel is round. I cannot step forward. A lot of kids think that running is driving your knee out in front. That's more acceleration. When it comes down to top speed, you need to get your knee up rather than just forward and out. You got to get your knee up with triple flexion, include the hip. So now I can grab up on that wheel, that hamster wheel, and then I can spin that wheel. But if I'm just going forward, I'm not going to get a very big chunk of wheel. I'm going to have a small wheel. I need to get a big chunk so I can get a bigger revolution, a bigger leg cycle. That's going to help me maintain more top speed. Never want to be the guy on the football field that gets caught at the 1-yard line, right? That sucks. It's happened to me before, but that's why I learned how to do this so it never happened to me again. And if you do want to work on, I don't think the video has it, but acceleration, we have different various starts that you'll probably see tomorrow for the warm-up. If you want to work top speed, well, then you're going to need to work bigger distances, okay? You can use parachutes, sleds, and all that stuff to help with this skill, building speed. Here's a picture of a playmaker doing a pad punch drill. Again, that's a skill that's applicable to the game. Here is the change of direction position. Look how he's leaning, right? He's got outside his center of gravity, and he's going to cut that way. So that's a very good picture for that. Here's one of my dudes back home. His name's Jacob Jordan. He's a stud. He works his butt off. I'd rather work with this 14-year-old than the next college athlete, because this guy listens and focuses on the details. Again, look at that acceleration position. All right, he's driving that knee up. He's focusing on arm swings. The kid works like nobody else that I've worked with this. He's not very big. He's a little tiny guy. If I show you his highlight film, you'd be like, damn, this boy is solid, right? Because of the way he prepares and the way he trains. Now, hopefully, I pray that he gets a growth spurt, because he needs one bad. The next 3, power. It's the ability to exert maximum amount of force in the shortest possible time. So the equation for that is power equals force times velocity. Force is how much weight you're lifting, so think of deadlifts, and how fast you can get it up. Okay? Yes, it's good to have a big number, but if you're doing that big number very, very slow, barely getting it up, it's not very powerful. Right? So maybe take some weight off, do multiple reps at a faster pace, obviously keeping good form, to increase your power. Okay? Other good ways to work on power is just jumping, right? Box jumps and whatnot. You can also do plyometric work for your chest, so plyometric push-ups to get stronger upper body. Any power lift, deadlift, hang clean, power clean, snatch, all those are good. And max sprinting. Not just regular sprinting is going to make you powerful, but max sprinting, running the fastest you can run. I only recommend doing max sprinting during the off season, not during in season. 1, somebody could pull something, we don't need that. 2, it really drains you. All right, so we don't need these kids showing up on game day and their legs are feeling like jello. Balance, yes, balance is a skill. It derives from the core, so number 1, if you want to be better at balancing, sharpen up your core. Even the big linemen, they have a core underneath their little layer, right? They have core under there, they need to work it out. How do we do that? Instability training. So anything on one leg, could be just a receiver like this, catching tennis balls or a football, a quarterback just throwing on one leg, one leg arm curls, if they're in the gym, just anything that's gonna be unstable. Now, if that's too easy, balancing on just one arm or one leg, we'll get a balance pad, those little cushion things. Now it's gonna add some more instability. You can also grab a Bosu ball, like I showed you in that first picture. It's flat on one side and it has a plastic ball on the other side that moves and it causes instability. You can actually flip it over and step on the flat side. Now you even have more instability. Slide board, this is a good one for athletes returning from knee injuries. It's like a tarp, or I don't know the word for it, but it's like a plastic that's real slippery, and you wear these certain socks, and all you do is just slide back and forth. If you don't have a strong core, well, you'll slide off the mat, or you'll fall and bust your butt. So that's a good one. TRX is a big one that we use in our cap training. It works on strength, obviously, but the whole time you're doing TRX suspension training, your core has to be engaged. If not, you're going to fall over. So that's a good one. The last skill is reaction. Okay? Every single play, especially for defense, you're reacting. As soon as that ball snaps, we need you firing off the damn ball. If you're not practicing it in your off season, if you're not applying it in your in season, don't get mad at your kids for being slow off the ball in the game. All right? You have to prepare properly to get those results in the game. So when it comes down to reaction, you got to use some sort of stimulus, a cue. And they're usually auditory or visual. So it could be something, say you're running wind sprints, it's when I drop my hand. Don't go until I drop my hand. For football, best one is just going off the ball. All right? So the more they can get in their head, the more they can trigger when to react, when to fire off the ball, the more they're going to improve on that. Okay? So if you see that your team is just lacking that, like, damn, coach, you're watching film and our line looks slow. Look how slow they're getting off the ball. They probably need to incorporate that in their training. Okay? Here's an athlete of mine working on some power, having him do some sled pushes. Here's one of our quarterback coaches from our first camp here in Bremerhaven. This was January of 2016, I believe. He's working a quarterback drill, reacting off a visual key. So if he points this way, that quarterback steps that way. If he points that way, he steps back. Very simple. Most of us use it for our DBs, right? We point the ball up, we bring it down, we shuffle them over, and we show pass. But make sure they're actually firing out of those cuts to help with that reaction time. Here's how we can implement it. More of it will be on the film. But for your pre-practice, your warm-up, okay? You can utilize this time, not just to get these kids going, but implementing speed mechanics in the warm-up. So every time they come up and show to y'all's practice, you're focusing on skills and training their skills, not just making them warm up and sweat. That's part of it, but we need to make every rep count, even from the very first exercise. So we'll go through the dynamic stretch that I do. Post-practice, this is where you can implement mobility and things like that. Again, that's the number one thing that I see over here with you big, strong German athletes. You guys are kind of stuck in your space, and your hips are very immobile. We need them to be mobile. During off days, again, you all know your schedules. If you have off days, write up a script, write up a training regimen for your athletes to implement, especially if you see potential in them, but you think they're just sitting on their butt at home on off days. They need to be doing something. Off season, they need to be doing a hell of a lot more. Again, if you attend TFE, you receive your personal complete athletic performance plan. There's another picture of them doing a warm-up. I'll explain that in a second. Here are some track kids. They don't even play football. They're track athletes that come see me. They primarily focus on acceleration and top speed, And here's some of the warm-up done with a resistant band. If you don't have these, I recommend to get those. You can do a lot of different skill training with just those bands alone. Here's a soccer player. Yes, we have football. I know y'all call it that too over here. But a soccer player, he's working some footwork with that resistance bungee. And so, yeah. Here's an example script. I'll break it down to 4 quarters. This should take an hour and 15 minutes max. If it's a new kid, I might go an hour and a half just to really explain the details. But that little kid, Jacob Jordan, that I showed you earlier, he could knock this whole thing out in about 65 minutes. But quality reps, not just getting through it to get through it. The first quarter is a 10-minute activation, core activation, and SMR. SMR stands for self-myofascial release. So if you ever used a foam roll, you did self-myofascial release. So what they do is kind of blurry, you can't really see it. Does this thing have a pointer on it? Right there. SMR glutes, so foam roll your glutes, the biggest muscle in your body, and then you do that for 30 seconds. After you foam roll your glutes, you do 30-second crunches. Again, we're just trying to activate our core. Then you foam roll your hamstrings, then you do 30-second toe touches. Then you foam roll your lower back, then you do a double crunch. Then you foam roll, you get the point. The program has these athletes come in on their own. I'm usually training somebody already, and I tell them, hey, start your SMR warm-up, your complex. And they know exactly what to do. So that point, when I do see them, they're already warmed up, their core's engaged, and we can start hitting other drills. So the second quarter, they do a med ball stationary warm-up, okay? It has squats, jumping jacks, seal jacks, different types of other squats that help athletes understand how to move their hip. I think that's a big thing that gets overlooked in youth development, is that we just expect the kid to just know how to do it and know how to move his body, but we're not really teaching it. So, for example, I'll talk about these two because these are very important. When it comes down to swivel jacks or gate swings, what I have these athletes do is perform a pop squat with their toes in. One, it's helping them understand how to move their hip, and you'll see how I do that in a second. But the biggest thing is we're working on internal rotation of the femur. This is your femur, right? Those athletes that lack internal rotation, that can't really get their knee in, usually are the ones that are at most risk for ACL injury, right? So just think of an athlete who gets caught on the field and their knee needs to be turning in to allow that movement to go, but they don't have mobility. So what gives? The joint. Boom, it pops, and the next thing you know, they're out for 6 weeks. Okay, so this drill right here works on those two things. Hip, femur mobility and hip rotation. So I stay wide, I'm not gonna step on that. My toes are in, pop my toes out to squat, toes in, toes out. That little bit. I make it look simple, but I guarantee if you got half your team, they're gonna be dropping their feet. They won't know how to really turn and control their hip. That little bit helps them develop that type of hip coordination. The next one, in and out squats. Now they're actually jacking their feet in and then out. Really pushing out, helping stretch that inner thigh all the way in, all the way out. Those two right there, I really strongly believe in those two to help athletes learn how to move their hips properly. And a lot of them just don't even have the hip muscles to move properly. So these exercises here develop those little smaller muscles in your hips. After that, we do some low pogos, high pogos. We do some T push-ups. After that, we'll do our resistant band dynamic stretches, 2 times 15 yards. Then we go into a footwork. This whole period needs to be done within 20 minutes. Okay? After that, I slow them back down. Okay, first off, by the time they finish this, this, and this, they're gassed, they're sweating. The other day I was working out with this guy outside. Sun was down. It was probably what?
About 5 after you can.
Yeah, 5 degrees Celsius, cold as hell, and he's sweating. He took off his jacket. And that was just that. We haven't even done the actual workout yet. And we didn't do 3 rounds of 10. We did more of that, but we didn't do 3 rounds of 10. So, plain and simple, they should be huffing and puffing and sweating with this. This alone is like a conditioning period, and we're still just warming up. I slow them back down and get some mobility in, because most of the time by the end of this, kids start like, oh man, I feel kind of tight. So what we do is we slow it back down, we get some back mobility, hip mobility, and core stability. I don't do them all, I just do a couple. We take a good 15, 20 minutes of that. and then I do the finisher. I don't do all three. I only pick one. So I either focus on acceleration or top speed for the day, I'll focus just on agility, or power and plyometrics. And then again, I'll just pick 2 or 3, and then I'll create a workout out of that. Again, I know my athletes. I recommend to get to know your athlete so you know what to hit. Okay, you're not kind of just wasting time like, damn, I should have worked on this because he needs that. Know your athlete, so every time you work with them, you're making an efficient training session. And the last thing, after they finish the whole 4 quarters, they do a little cool down stretch. Don't ever send your kids home right after just running 40 sprints or 30 sprints. Make sure you cool them down and get their heart rate back down and that lactic acid out by static stretching. Other important factors, obviously strength and conditioning. The CAP program, we tap into it, but that's not the main focus of this. CAP program will not get you 10 pounds on your bench and 20 pounds of mass. That's not what it's for. Again, it's skills training. But another key factor that should be tied with CAP training is strength and conditioning. Again, you have relative body strength, how strong I am for my body, how many chin-ups and push-ups can I do for myself, and then also force production, how much weight can I actually lift. Always incorporating mobility and flexibility. Hips, lower back are the main ones to avoid injury. And then a very simple one is just posture, having good posture. Kids nowadays are always on their phone, they're always in class, they're always chilling. So look at my shoulders, everything's like this. You gotta be able to open up those shoulders and that posture, have good posture. And that alone, I mean, most of us probably throughout the day do this, right? Oh man, I'm tired. Yeah, because probably we're like this all day at work. Open that up. As much as working out is important and the extra work in the gym or on doing the speed and agility CAP training is important, rest is very crucial. Your body will not burn fat, build muscle, or recover if you don't rest. Most of these kids, I don't know if they're getting 8 hours of sleep. I barely sometimes get 8 hours of sleep, right? So hopefully they're getting somewhere near that. If they're not, and they're not seeing those improvements, it's hard to get those results when you're not letting your body recover. Recovery is a good one. So usually after the game day, you guys do some sort of cardio or conditioning. Yoga, I'm telling you, the other day we did, after the camp, I do a cool down stretch, and every single German football player there was like, oh, I have to touch my toes. That was it. They were pissed off having to do this stretch. It shouldn't be that way. I get it, it's boring. It's not the fun thing about sports, but it's very crucial. So I recommend to implement some yoga. Get some more mobility in your athletes. Cryotherapy, I'm not sure if y'all heard of that. That's that chamber. It's like a sub-zero temperature chamber that you stand in, and it just blasts cold air on you, and it helps the swelling of the joints and your muscles, and it actually recovers you pretty good. SMR, foam rolling. Rehab is more so for injuries, right? It's a shitty part of the game, but injuries happen. I myself have almost broken every bone in my body for just playing football, and that's just part of the game. I still love football just the same, but it's a rough sport, and you got to learn how to rehabilitate your body so you can get your ass back on the field. So you can use ice and heat, a whirlpool, whether it's an ice bath or a hot pool to get warmed up. A TENS unit, that's the one that you put those patches on and it moves your muscles. Or a game-ready Normatec. And we'll see a picture of that in a second. And then obviously nutrition. Nutrition plays a big role, okay? Us fat Americans over there in the U.S., we eat plenty. We have big meals and we eat plenty. I don't know if they're all healthy, all right? That's the question. But they do need to be eating. If you see that your athlete is losing weight during the season, it's probably just because they're not eating enough. So help them out with that. They need to be eating about 3 to 5 clean, well-balanced meals a day. Not just 6 double cheeseburgers from McDonald's. They need to be eating quality food. Most meals, or all meals, need to be high in protein. If they want to bulk, they need to have high carbs. If they need a cut, say you have a lineman that's just a little too big, a little too sloppy, or a linebacker that's right there but he's too sloppy, tell them to chill out on the carbs. And then we got to find the good fats. Don't be afraid of fats, just find the good fats, okay? And then this is a big one right here. I get it, it's cold as hell over here in Europe, but that doesn't mean you don't need water. Water is key to everything. Your brain is damn near all water, all right? So your muscles, everything in your body needs water. So that right here. We need it. I know my kids back home, they say they do, but every time I see them, they're drinking a Gatorade. Gatorade's not water, it's freaking sugar, or a Coke. That is sure as hell is not going to help you get better, right, or healthier. Water, very important. Some of my athletes doing some foam roll. There's Zeke Elliott with the Norma Tech getting an interview, I guess, but basically he's recovering his legs after the game or something like that, okay? So I don't know if y'all have access to that, but these are different ways to do that. So yeah, before we get to the thing, follow us on social media. Here's my personal page. You can contact me, ask me questions. I have guys from 2016 still talk to me today on this. Coach, I got an athlete, he's slow. What do I need to do to get him faster? Coach, I got an athlete who's awesome, but he's just too stiff, or he's recovering from a knee injury. What do you recommend? Hit me up. This is my job, 24/7. I do this in America every single day. I have no wife, no kids. So the time change, 7-hour difference, doesn't matter. If you hit me up at 2 in the morning, if I wake up, I'll hit you back, all right? So hit me up. I love this shit, and this is what I do for a living. So the more you all talk to me, the more business I have, right? So help me out. So he's going to go to the video. We're going to scan through it. I'm going to talk fast. I know y'all are tired and need to get some rest for tomorrow. But this is in Rataboyle. This is most of these kids I saw last year for 2 days. So it's not like I know these kids that well. This is just a very basic, different, fun, challenging warm-up progression that I put for them and kind of to trick their bodies a little bit. If you're doing the same old routine, you're going to get the same old results. You got me? You have to change it up here and there and trick the body a little bit, challenge the body a little bit to get different results. I'm not saying you don't need a normal routine, a game day routine. I believe in that for sure. But your body will plateau if you just do the same old shit all the time, right? Change it up a little bit. So here we go. What we're doing here is I'm just describing a different way of lunging. Instead of just lunging out normal, I want to see if these guys can reach triple extension. If they have the core strength to maintain some balance and own the position at the top. If I can't do it in slow motion, I will not reach that in a fast motion or running a 40-yard dash. So what I'm going to have them do is a static exercise. They're going to do squats. Their butt needs to touch the pad. See the kids in the back over here? He's doing squats. And then they do that sprinter lunge. Then they have A-skips. So they're doing 3 parts on just the first drill. I'm killing 3 birds with 1 stone, basically. Okay? This kid right here, he's very strong, but that's not how you do it. Ready, push, play, pause. Ooh, he missed it. Go back a little bit. If you can, just a tiny bit. See if you can catch him up in his stance. He was probably one of the better athletes there, and he's strong enough. Oh, you had it. Go back a little bit. Right there. Okay, good. Yes, he's taking a huge step out, but he's actually training his body to overstride. You don't want to run like that. Now my hips are behind my foot. I'm not going to be strong out of my next step. What I wanted to see on these sprinter lunges is if he can reach that triple extension. So if you look at his leg, is his leg straight? Hell no. It's broken. He's training his body to run broken. You don't run with broken legs. You run with strong, stabilized legs. So again, instead of bending, how tall and in that acceleration line can you reach and own it at the top? Okay, so push play. Now his A-skip's pretty damn good though. It's light on his feet. He's driving underneath his hip. This guy's just kind of going through the motion. Instead of taking advantage of the rep, he's just picking up flowers in the park. All right? Don't let that go. You all probably see that every single day, right? And I get it. Not every kid has that fire in them to want to be the best, but that's where you as a coach need to be that motivator. You got to be that guy to lock them in, get them to escape their problems from the real world, because that's why we play football, to have fun and kind of just get away. But at the same time, we're trying to get better, especially as a team. Push play. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. Oh, jumping jacks. Again, instead of doing squats now, I'm going to have them do jumping jacks. They don't have shoulder pads on right now. So I want them to get full range of motion on these jumping jacks. Too many times with football players, we're just lazy with it. Oh, I have pads on, coach. I can't reach. Bullshit. Get your arms all the way up there. Here's my main 2 reasons why. We got to take care of our shoulders. We got to have good mobility of the shoulders. When you tackle, you're constantly throwing your shoulder into something. Okay? So you don't want to have damaged shoulders. You want to have good range of motion. And then secondly, a lot of these kids play other sports. Tennis, volleyball, they might play baseball. If they're quarterbacks, we do a lot of things overhead, so we got to learn how to move our shoulders overhead properly. Here I'm talking about a crab walk. We have to train our guys to have a wide base. That's got to be natural to have a wide base, because if not, they'll get thrown. That guy's bigger than me. Now he has a wide base, and now I'm hitting him. He doesn't move anywhere, just because he did this. So with these crab walks, what we're doing is waking up our muscles, or our leg muscles, sending blood flow, but we're already putting in our brain to stay wide the whole time. Whether I'm a quarterback in the pocket, whether I'm a receiver about to block somebody or a defense about to tackle, I have to have a wide base. But if you don't train it and make it automatic for them, it's not going to happen in the game. They're going to get here narrow, and they're going to get knocked on their butt, or they're going to get juked out, or whatever. Okay? Go to the next slide. Put 30. Hit the 30. See what happens in 30 seconds. So yeah, push play. Let it run. So they're doing the 10 jumping jacks, getting the heart rate up. They're hitting the crab walks, and then they hit karaoke. Pretty good. Can't see from this angle, but it looks a little narrow to me. That's better. That's very good. Look at that. That's pretty damn good. Again, all you're doing is just reassuring that every rep they do is going to apply to the game. And then this is just another active stretch. This is a different view, I guess. He was a quarterback. He was pretty damn good. And use those guys, the ones that care about what they're doing, have them demonstrate. Have them be the leaders. Lead by example. That's all we're trying to do, is just really train on staying wide. Butt down, chest up. Got to have our eyes up in the game. Again, doing 3 exercises within 1 drill. Next one, next slide. Here, I'm telling them to back up. Now, here's a good one. We got to be upper body strong too, especially for the O linemen, D linemen, linebackers. Quarterbacks, receivers, DBs, it's good to be strong, but it's not like you're going to be bench pressing people in the game. But all the other guys I named, they will. So here's a good way to hit your core and upper body. So do a push-up with a plank rotation. A lot of weak kids will fall off. They don't have the strength to do that. Okay, so push up, got to be strong and own it at the top, and then you rotate other side. Do you have to do it on the bag? No, but I like that because it causes instability. And again, in football, you're never going to be locked into the bar. Oh yeah, I have a tight grip. Not going to be like that. This guy's trying to get away from you. He's trying to cut. He's trying to rip. He's trying to spin. He's trying to block you. Whatever it is, you got to learn how to play with instability. Let's see if anybody falls over here. For the most part, pretty easy. Do you have to do it on the bag? No, you can do it flat on the ground. If you have a bigger kid that can't do it, maybe have him do it on the bench. Pick his body weight up a little bit and help him out. Oh, get your knees up. So from here, we're just doing a back pedal. Now notice, go back a little bit, right at the beginning of the back pedal. And I didn't explain it because I always like using it as a teaching tool. Don't watch him. Let's watch this quarterback. Let's count how many steps it takes for him to get from here to 5 yards. This is 5 yards, believe it or not. I counted the steps off. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 steps to get 5 yards. And I get it. That looked great as a DB, but we're not doing DB drills right now. We're warming up. We're just doing a static stretch. So go to the next slide. Hopefully they got it. When we warm up, no, we didn't do it here. When we warm up, push pause. When we warm up, I don't tell these guys to do a DB back pedal. Wait till DB drills to do DB back pedals. But here we're trying to stretch our legs out. So instead of taking 10 steps to go 5 yards, make sure I don't hit that, let's pick that heel up and push and reach back. Okay, so you're already waking up the muscles to, for one, get mobile and stretch out so we don't pull nothing. But two, you're building that single leg power of pushing back rather than just baby steps. Know the difference between those. All right, push play. Skip ahead. I don't even know what we're doing here. Just hit the 30. Hit the 30 over. Boom. So from here, what I had them do, I remember, they're doing 10 side-to-side hops. Again, I do some sort of heart rate builder, so it's forcing them to, get their heart rate up. Look at that kid hitting it. Shuffle to a side run. All right, those are moves you'll use in a game. You tell your linebackers to shuffle in space or buzz to the flats. You tell your, or if it's a sweep play, he doesn't want to overcommit, so he's got a side run. Utilizing the warm-up to help them with their skills that they're going to be using in the game. Okay? I'm not saying y'all's warm-up is bad. Y'all's warm-up is a great warm-up. But is it really applying to the game? Is every little thing that you're doing going to be used in the game? And I know every athlete will use a shuffle and a side run. What'd you do to my thing, bro? What the hell is wrong with you? Keep going. Push play. Let's get through it quicker. Hit the 30. I wish we had the volume, that way I didn't have to talk. So this is a good explanation drill, or something to explain in your drills. If you have an athlete that's always feet hitting the pad, or they're push pause, if they're doing a ladder drill and they hit the ladder, most coaches say pick your feet up, right? Because your foot is what hit the object. But technically that's not, biomechanically that's not correct. Picking your feet up means this. I'm picking my feet up, technically, but I'm not athletic. What I tell my athletes is pick your knees up. If I pick my knee up, because it's attached by a bone to my foot will come up, okay? So if you're doing back drills and they hit the pad, don't say get your foot up. Get your knees up, okay? If they're doing a ladder drill, whatever it is, and they hit the ladder, get your knees up. If your knee comes up, your foot will come up. So that's all I'm telling them here. And for some kids, it's the first time they've heard that, and a light bulb goes off. And they never make the mistake again. And then you never have to say it over and over again. Because as coaches, the most frustrating thing is what? Saying the same old shit over and over and over. It gets tiring. So fix it while you can, all right? Push play, fast forward again. Go, yeah, that's cool. So now we're just doing, now by this point, they've already done 10 different exercises. I'm having them do a man maker, buzz their feet around a cone, and then re-accelerate. So we're just working on dropping down, pushing up, driving over the pad, decelerating, and then re-accelerating. Stuff that they use in the game, okay? Next video. Slowly, it was kind of a slow build-up. We started off slow with the lunges, and then karaoke skips, and now they're sprinting. Now they're doing actual up, down, and going. Still the warm-up. A lot of explaining. You don't have, in time, once you get it done that first week, well, then you can get through the warm-up a lot quicker. It's just I don't see these guys very often. And I'm having to make sure that I really explain what I'm looking for so they can do it right the first time. I don't want to have to do the same drill 30 times. Just kind of go fast. Stir. I don't know if Coach got it here. But what I have them do now is burst, and then now they stop and buzz, wait for the next whistle for a reaction. So when I blow the whistle, now they're going to take off. So again, I'm trying to hit the different skills. The skills are what? Coordination, agility, speed, power, balance, and reaction. And I've hit every single one of those in this warm-up. I don't have time to do it. We don't have the extra time. We have our own families to get to. We got to go get our own food and go to sleep. So let's put together a good plan to where we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone and save the most amount of time. Go forward. You keep going forward till you see them working. So now what I have, and it's almost complete with the final warm-up. I've built it up. They're going to burst, jump over. They're going to buzz. They're going to wait for the whistle call. When they get the whistle, now they're going to shuffle and then cut. Boom. If they don't get there fast enough, well, this guy's about to step on them. So watch. This guy's going to come to the picture. If he doesn't hurry, you're going to get stepped on, just like in a game. We got to know the play, and we got to execute the play. But if you're constantly looking around and confused, then you get cleaned up by somebody else, or you get stepped on by a lineman, and now you can't go anywhere. You got to know the play, and you got to execute full speed. I think this is the last one. So now they burst, shuffle, then they re-accelerate. So just go 30 seconds or a little bit forward. So now it's not even a whistle, it's more of like a race. I want to see who's just has the play down. And I built it up. I didn't start with the most complex one. I started with something basic, and then I added another part, and then I added another part, and then now we're here. Go back a little bit. Go back a little bit. Right here, let's watch this film, and I'll tell you when to pause. Ready? Ready? Pause. Okay, you have this big lineman in the middle, and then you have a receiver. Naturally, who has a stronger core? Well, not so much stronger, but who can work outside their center of gravity better? Most of the time, they add the skilled position compared to the lineman. When they touch the cone, I need you to push pause. Ready? Play, then pause. Okay. Look at his skater position. Look how he's leaning to the left. And look how much quicker he's going to be able to get out compared to this guy. Look where he leans. Push play. Pause. Oh. Everybody else is moving, and he still hasn't what? Right? If he doesn't know, how can you get mad at him when he jacks up in the game? You got to make that play. Well, he doesn't know how to do it. He doesn't know how to move his body to make that play. Take advantage of your warm-ups or your cool-downs or your training in the off-season, whatever, so they can fix that mistake. It's very subtle movement. No one probably saw it here until I broke it down. But again, this is my job. This is what I've been doing for 7 years now. That little thing right there irks me. I can't go to sleep at night because of that shit, honestly. I care about the X's and O's. I care about winning football games. But I know to win football games, you got to learn how to move your body better. And if you can have all 11 guys moving smooth, in control of their body, you're going to have a very powerful, functional football team that can do what you ask them to do. Got me? So something very small, but it's a game changer in my opinion. Okay? Everybody else has a step on him, and he's still getting out of his stance. Push play. Even the big boys can learn how to do that. Oof. Oof. Look at this guy. Very good. Very good. And honestly, they were the two better athletes there. But this guy's not even giving himself a chance no more. Again, this was a race. I wanted to see who the fastest guy to do this drill was. And they're all going the other way already. Well, he still needs to touch, but that is not the way to do it. Changing direction. Again, he has to learn that. It's a skill that he needs to be taught so he can improve it. Push play. He kind of got out of it too a little bit. Next one, I don't know, we should be done almost. Maybe one more. Fast forward, fast forward. Okay, I like doing this one a lot too because it helps the L drill, learning the L drill, but I just add that pad there in the middle to get their knee up. So the whole drill is this. They sprint to the top corner of the cone to the top side. A lot of kids like to cut cones. And me as a coach, it's the details, man. If I ask you to get around the cone, get around the damn cone. Don't cut underneath it. It's not making you better. So get around the cone, and then you got to get under the next cone, just like the L drill. You got to get under it. A lot of kids don't do that too. They show up to their combine, they jack it up, and you're like, this kid sucks. And he's actually a good athlete, but his test score doesn't show it because he's never been taught the details to do the drill properly. Okay? So I rather take the extra time and do all the talking while they're standing. So when they do their rep, they do it right the first time, rather than it taking 3-4 times just to get them to do it right one time. Right? Because every rep needs to be a perfect rep to get better. Let's see who here doesn't pay attention to details. Let's see it. Oh. Very good. Not bad. And I just add the pad there because, you know, it just forces them to get their knee up. To them, it's fun. You know, jumping over a little pad, it's challenging. It's different for them. Keeps their body guessing. Keep going forward. So now, check this out. So now I build it up again. So I had them go to the top portion of the cone, cut, get over, under. Now they got to get around like the L drill, and then finish off. So again, it's just one huge buildup of skills training for just a warm-up. Did I take 30 minutes to do it? Do y'all have 30 minutes to do a warm-up? Probably not. But I bet you if I can work these guys out 3 days, first day to learn it, second day to execute it better, by the third day, they'll be able to do a 30-minute warm-up in 15 minutes. But you got to take that time to really break it down, beat it like a drum, to where you do show up that third day, they're executing. So the fourth day, it's like running like water. Boom, boom, boom. Then you get the captain of the team, he can run it for you. Now you don't have to blow the whistle. You can go set up the drills, and they're handling it on their own. But it starts with that first initial day or two to make sure what you're looking for, those little points are being, you know, preached and taught. So yeah, just keep going forward. I think that's pretty much it. Oh, the last one I do is just a full-on down and back. So this is the longest one. It's the same exact drill. Get over the top left, get under, get over. Again, if they slip, fall, they get confused, somebody's going to come step on them. Someone's going to come clean them up, just like a game. I need a guy to know the play and execute. So now they go all the way down, stop with the buzz, and then re-accelerate. So by this point, most of these guys are begging for water. Coach, can I get some water after this? Good, that's what I want. I want you to be a little tired. I want you to get a little conditioning, wake the body up, get warm, start sweating. So when we go to our football drills, our position drills, now we're flying around. Now we're handling everything. We're not slipping, we're not slow, we're not still trying to get our body awake. We're awake. Details, little thing like that. And I can't be mad at them. I'm not going to rip them for doing that. But I'm going to let them know that you messed it up. Hey, everybody else was paying attention. When everyone was running sweep right, you ran sweep left. And so who messed up the play? You did, right? So little things like that. I know the teams, and I've sat through your head coach's presentation. And the biggest thing was attention to detail. Little details. If you ask for one thing, toes on the line. You have that one kid that's over the line. Jesus, back up a little bit, man. I told you toes on the line, not heels on the line. Little details like that really separates the good teams from the great teams. When every little one can just focus on those details, I know those teams go a lot farther. So that's pretty much it for the warm-up that I did in Rattleboil. Feel free to, if you like something in here that you think you can implement in your team, implement it, all right? Again, if you want your athletes to perform better on the field, make sure they're preparing better. Don't just expect it to happen. Trust me, if there was a magic dust out there, I would have thrown it on everybody already, right? I would have thrown it on your feet, everything would have happened. There's no magic dust. The magic dust is hard work, right? But perfect reps. Because just practicing and playing is not going to make you better. Perfect reps will get you those results. So, any questions as far as cap training or speed and agility or skill training that you may have? No? Again, if you follow me online, feel free to ask questions. You might get one tomorrow when your brain's more awake, right, and you coffee and whatever. If you see me at the bar, you want to have a beer and talk about something, by all means, pick my brain. We'll be in Hamburg for the next 3 days, I guess, until Sunday night. And we'll be touring through Europe till the 21st. So tomorrow I'll be with the receivers. I'll do the warm-up. Feel free to stand right next to me so you hear exactly what I'm saying and coaching. The more you can learn from me, the better I feel for one, but the more you can give to your kids and help your athletes to be the best they can be, all right? So thank you guys, and I'll see y'all